How did we get here? How did we get here? What in the Alice in Wonderland nightmares is going on right now? All I can say is how fucking dare you?
If you voted for that man, if you voted for anybody other than Kamala, and you live in one of the states that it was, close, or if you didn't vote, fuck you.
Senate race. It's not gonna happen. Go Kamala.
I chose family. I chose women. I chose America. I love you.
How the fuck is this still happening? All I've ever known politically is hatred.
I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done with you. I'm done with you and your mother and your sister. I'm just done with all of this.
I'm sorry to all my friends who are Trump supporters. But you don't understand how scared of this man I am. If this guy does end up winning again, all of the people who voted for him will be like happy and they'll just be celebrating. And everyone else, everyone who feels threatened by him is fucking scared. Like we're scared for our lives. We're scared for our friends. How dare you put this man into office for another 4 years, knowing damn well what it means for our country, what it means for us as a people. To know that there is that much ignorance and that much hate in this country, it's so terrifying. It's so terrifying.
How the fuck are we back in this same situation again? Who the fuck is voting for him? Genuinely.
Fuck you. I don't want to hear about how shitty your life gets under his policies. Live with that decision. Sit with it. Let it make you uncomfortable. Fuck you.
Well, that seems to be a little, a little extreme, don't you think? These people are out of control. This is just a taste. Alex Jones posted this, and it's a bunch of, these people, mostly women. There was a guy in there, and then I don't know what, in there as well. Just having, just an epic meltdown over the election. And I posed this question earlier, and I really have not gotten another answer to it. A really coherent answer. But a lot of people are talking about, they're scared. They're terrified for their daughters. They are worried about their rights, and they're scared for their survival. All this stuff. It's like, what? And I posed the question. I'm like, why? Why are these people saying they're scared? They're scared for their daughters. They're scared for their friends. They're scared for people in general. They're scared for LGBTQ people. All this stuff. And I'm like, I'm at a loss. I'm not sure exactly what do you think is going to happen on January 21st, 2025? What do you people actually think is going to transpire when Donald Trump is inaugurated in his first, full day of work? Because I say 21st because he'll be sworn in on the 20th, but really you don't do a whole lot of work on your first day in office. Day 2, the 21st, that's when, all right, let's get this ball rolling. What do they actually think is going to happen? Is it a genuine question? Because I'm not seeing any what do they think is going to happen? Do they think it's going to be all of a sudden what? They're going to murder people? The government is going to send out the National Guard to go door to door and be like, are you gay? Are you trans? Do you like abortions? And then arrest them and kill them? Seriously. And I have a daughter. I'm not scared for her. But then somebody explained it kind of to me. The big issue for a lot of these people on the far left is, in fact, abortion. Like, they somehow think Donald Trump on day one is going to just go, by executive edict, abortions are now completely illegal, and if you get an abortion, we're going to kill you. I don't think so. And here is the biggest problem we're facing in the post-election world. Not even like 24 hours after the election, a little over 24 hours, and we're already seeing these people losing their frickin' mind over Donald Trump being elected the 47th president of the United States. Like, this is troubling that there are people who actually think this. And I think I know what the number one cause of that is. Straight up, the number one cause is the media. The media and politicians and people on the left have been lying. They've been lying for years, but more importantly, they've been lying for the last, let's call it 8-9 years, about Donald Trump. And then more so, they've ramped up the lies this year with, there's the whole, and look, I really don't want to touch on it. I really don't want to go there. I did a couple of videos. They're on my YouTube channel. I did a couple of videos about Project 2025. I did a kind of breakdown. I didn't finish it. Yes, I know. But it's immaterial because Project 2025 is not Trump's policy. Trump has nothing to do with Project 2025. Project 2025 is not what Trump endorses. None of those people are working for Trump. And honestly, like, all Project 2025 is, if you people could get it through your frickin' heads, all Project 2025 is a series of suggestions by a conservative think tank. That's it. There's nothing binding about any of it. There's no promissory anything from the incoming administration. Trump's transition team is not going to suddenly go, you know what, these are some really good ideas, let's use them. No. Project 2025 is not what people think it is. And the fact that people are afraid of it being implemented just goes to show the massive amounts of disinformation and ignorance that are pervasive in American society today. Because, frankly, here, let's break it down. Here's what's not going to happen under Donald Trump in his 4 years in office. Number one, no one's losing any rights. It's not like all of a sudden you're going to lose the right to free speech. That one is a huge one. People actually think Trump is going to, restrict the First Amendment. No. No one is going to take away your right to free speech in this administration. If anything, Obama did that when they instituted that NDAA that says you can't protest within a certain distance of a political or of a presidential candidate or the president himself. The Department of Justice prosecuted people that were at the Capitol on January 6th that didn't even go inside the building. There were people questioned, there were people charged who didn't even go inside the building. So who's really going after free speech? There are also a lot of people on the left advocating for the restriction of the right to peaceably assemble, the right of free association. Kamala Harris was saying we need to stop misinformation and disinformation. Hey, guess what? First Amendment covers all of that. I agree with the idea that the First Amendment should be completely unrestricted. People should be allowed to say stupid crap. If you have something stupid to say, you should be free to say it so that we can all figure out that you're stupid. If you have something hateful to say, that should be protected so we can all know who to avoid. If you say something blanket, like where you judge an entire race of people based on the color of their skin. I want to know who that is so I can stay far away from them and look down on them. Plain and simple. I mean, if someone thinks that, what's another one that the left claims is something, what's another projection? Oh, how about this one? People who say black people are too stupid to be able to obtain a government ID. It's pretty racist. I think they should be allowed to say that. So I can know that they're not very smart and they are in fact very racist. Because I don't know a single black person who can't get an ID. So, yeah, that's pretty racist. So, Trump is not going to do anything that's going to restrict your right to free speech, your right to protest, your right to peaceably assemble. Now, you don't have a right to riot. When your protest goes violent and becomes destructive, that's where it ceases to be a protest and it starts to be destruction of property. I'm sorry, I hate to break it to you. And yes, they did that on January 6th. And yes, I condemn it totally. I think January 6th was stupid. Do I think Donald Trump was behind it? No. Donald Trump plainly said, peacefully go make your voice heard. Now, granted, yes, I disagree with the fact that he kind of told them to go to the Capitol and protest. I mean, you have a right to do that, though, in this country. That is one of the fundamental rights of Americans, is to address grievances with your government. However, when you break in, because yes, there were windows broken at the Capitol and people crawled through the windows. I know. The Capitol Police held doors open, but there were also people breaking windows and climbing in that way. All wrong. I think that they shouldn't have even entered the Capitol. They should have stayed put. And look, I've been consistent on that stance since I heard about January 6th, when I was driving on I-70 into the state of Utah, and I got a phone call from a friend saying that there are protesters at the Capitol. So, yeah, I think that the whole January 6th thing is stupid. I think it was misguided, and I've been consistent on that since day one. Yeah. Moving on, what else is Trump not going to do? Oh, yeah, he's not going to touch your... I hate that people say this. It is not a fucking right. Period. An abortion is not a right. Let's dispense that right now. He's not going to take away abortion. Okay? He's already said it. I will fight this tooth and nail to the end of the day. Donald Trump has said it. If a national abortion ban legislation comes to his desk, he will veto it. He is happy with where it is right now after the Dobbs decision that overturned Roe v. Wade. He said he's happy with it being a states' rights issue. He's happy with the decision being left to the states. His wife is pro-choice. He's kind of sort of pro-choice. And there's nothing... Even Elon Musk had to come out and defend it. Elon Musk said that, Trump will veto any national abortion ban, and he recognizes that no one will be happy. Neither side will be happy, but that's the best compromise he can come up with. And you know what? That's good enough for me. My personal views, and I've talked about this before on this show, my personal views are I'm against abortion. I think that there should be exceptions because nothing should be absolute. But Trump is not going to take away your abortion. So calm down. And your daughters, you're in fear for your daughters. What are you in fear of for your daughters? Are your daughters going to whore around and have sex unprotected, willy-nilly? Is that the kind of daughter you're raising? Please, give me a break. You want your daughters to be safe, smart, and successful. And I'm sorry, your daughter should not be hooking up with every guy she meets. If you did that in your youth, that's a you problem. If your daughter becomes like that, that's a you problem. I want my daughter to grow up safe. I want her to make good decisions. I want her to use good judgment. I want her to be successful. And I want her to do what I believe my personal values dictate a girl should do, a woman should do, and a man too. My personal values are you should not be having children until you're married and you're with somebody that you want to spend your life with and raise children with. That's what I did. That's what most people have done for hundreds of years, and it's worked out pretty good up until now. And call me a traditionalist, but yeah, I think that's the way God intended it, and if you don't believe in God, that's fine. But that's how I view it. You should wait until marriage to have children. And guess what? I'm just gonna touch on this briefly because I'm not gonna go down this rabbit hole. But abortion should not be used as birth control, and everybody should recognize that a natural consequence of sexual activity is babies. That is the biological mechanism for procreation, is intercourse. I know this is like biology 101 here. You should have learned about this in grade school when they taught sex ed. I don't know what age they teach sex ed now. My daughter's not there yet, so thank goodness. But I learned it, I think it was like 5th grade. Which then I didn't understand really the whole thing behind it. I still think that's too young. Let kids be kids. But like the fact that so many people are denying the biological fact that a natural consequence of sex is pregnancy. That is literally how you get to pregnancy, is heterosexual activity. That is literally how it happens. Like, you somehow think setting fire to a puddle of gasoline is not going to result in a fire? Is that what people think? Because if that's what people think, I got some news for you. Someone lied to you, and you ain't very bright, bro. Like, seriously, you need to work on something in between your ears, because that is, I don't understand that. That makes no sense to me. That people deny the basic biology of when a man and a woman. I'm not going to explain the birds and the bees to a group of adults. I can't believe I have to do this. So, yeah, and Trump's not taking that away. There are still states that allow you to have an abortion up until the day of birth. Colorado's one of them. I think Tim Walz' state of Minnesota is one of them too. And there's multiple cases of that happening. Like, Google late-term abortions. It's happening. It's not people getting abortions, right after figuring out that they're pregnant. Like, oh, I missed my period. I better pee on a stick. And then, oh, I'm pregnant. And they're getting... No, we're talking people who actually, wait. And I'm not talking... And there are outliers of risk to the mother, risk to the baby. I don't agree with the deformity thing. Because I have a niece who's autistic. I don't agree with figuring out that, hey, this child's going to be different when they're born. If that's able to be found out, which, as far as I know right now, we're not able to tell if somebody's autistic until after they're born, because they then display the behavioral markers. But if they had been able to find that out in the womb, I know that there are a ton of people out there who would get an abortion once they figure that out, because they don't want to deal with the difficulty of that. And I'm sorry, I disagree with that. I think that all children deserve to be loved, even if they have disability or deformity or are just not quite 100% perfect. And, I was worried about our daughter because they had her the little jaundice treatment for 2 days when we were in the hospital. And look, all kids deserve to be loved, and all kids deserve to come into a loving family. And I understand I've discussed this ad nauseum, but Trump is not going to do any of that. Trump's not going to overturn all these laws in all these states, and he's not going to support a national abortion ban. Period. Do I agree with some of these abortion legislations? No. But Trump doesn't either. And he's not going to take that away. Another thing that Trump is not going to do when he's in office. Let me break this down for you so that you can understand. I'll explain it like you're 5. If you are gay, trans, queer, non-binary, whatever, Trump's not coming after you. Trump doesn't care. He's not going to suddenly make it illegal to be a trans person in America. I hate to break it to you, but that's not going to happen. Yes, on this issue, I disagree with a lot of Republican ideology, because I think that if you're an adult, and I said this yesterday, I'll say it again today. If you're an adult, you should be free to make your own choices, but leave kids alone. I don't think kids can make that decision for a long term. Let me put it to you a little bit differently, that I think a lot of people on the left might grasp a little easier. If a young person is incapable of being responsible enough to own a firearm, they are not responsible enough to make a permanent life-altering decision about their body. There, I said it. Come at me. I don't care. That is, look, if they're not old enough to vote, if they're not old enough to consume alcohol legally, if they're not old enough to buy tobacco products, if they're not old enough to gamble, if they're not old enough to, enlist in the military, then they're not old enough to feed into the giant propaganda of getting these sex change drugs. Because no. Leave kids alone. That's all I'm going to say about that. But if anything, I think here's the things that people are afraid of. I've heard teachers say that they're afraid of Donald Trump because he has expressed interest in eliminating the Federal Department of Education. And I only have one thing to say, to quote Jocko Willink. Good. I think the Department of Education at the federal level is completely useless. Name one accomplishment that they have come up with. Who runs our schools? I'll tell you. It's the individual states, and it's the individual districts. Your county, your city, whatever, that school district is in charge of running the schools. And a lot of them are doing a just fine job. A lot of them are doing a terrible job, which is why my kid doesn't go to public school. But a lot of them are doing just fine. Some of them need a little help, but the Federal Department of Education is a completely useless and ineffective government entity that needs to be gotten rid of. If Trump gets rid of the FBI, oh well. There's plenty of other organizations that can pick up the slack. But, I mean, that's another video for another time, how we can trim the fat. And I really do hope that Ron Paul and Elon Musk work together to do this. Because Department of Government efficiency is definitely needed to cut down on some of this. And I think Trump's really going to do some good things in that aspect. What else is Trump not going to do? He's not going to make it illegal to get married if you're gay. He's not touching that. The Supreme Court already ruled on that. I don't think he's going to touch on that. I don't think he's going to go after that. So no, he's not going to come after your gay marriage. And I'm for gay marriage. I've been to 3 gay weddings. I've been to 5 or 6. I've been to a dozen at least. Parties or receptions for gay weddings. And you know what? I am all happy for them. There's a good friend of our family that's gay. My uncle was gay. I have friends who were gay. I'm all for them getting married. Hell yeah, do it. Do it. Especially with the tax incentives and the legal incentives. Like, I'm sorry, but I see no harm in a man and his husband, or a woman and her wife, or whatever moniker they want to use. Go whatever label you want to throw at it, go for it. But I have no problem with them if your spouse ends up in the hospital and ends up in a coma, and I think the decision should be the spouse in their care, their long-term care, their short-term care, and those emergency medical decisions. I think 100%. They should have the same exact rights as regular heterosexual couples have. And you know what? I'm all for that. So Trump, I don't think Trump's going to touch that. Trump's not coming after that. I'm sorry, but you're wrong. So why are all these people freaking out? Why are they saying all this? Because they believe propaganda and lies. Trump is not coming after your rights. Trump is not going to come after you. Trump is not going to make it illegal for you to be LGBTQ plus. None of that. He's not coming after any of that. Trump is straight up not going to do any of the things that you think he's going to do. So, I'm going to transition into what is Trump going to do that might not be popular with some of these people. Well, for one, okay, so there is that whole thing with Project 2025 that people are afraid of Trump actually implementing, and that is the grooming concern. People think he's going to ban books. That's not going to happen. What has been going on? I'm going to dispel some rumors right now. One, the whole, and I've got to be very careful because I know that this is going to ruffle some feathers. The whole trans ideology, that the activism of teaching kids that trans people exist, I think should be one of those things that, well, one, it has been taken too far. And if you want to argue with me on that, name a time and place. Let's have a debate. But it is actually happening. There are people who are telling people. It happened to a friend of mine where I won't get into too many details to protect the identity and stuff. But his daughter got a haircut and color, went to school, and I'm not sure exactly who said it, whether it was a teacher or administrator or just a staff member, but they said to her, you might be lesbian. And that's not okay. I think she's under 18. Teachers should not, teachers have no responsibility to do that. And teachers should not be saying that. Teachers have one responsibility, and that's educating and keeping kids safe. That's it. You don't have a responsibility to be informing these children about the fact that they may be trans. I know a lot of teachers that say, I want to be a safe space for my kids to come to me and tell me things. Like, if they're being harmed in the home, that is absolutely a responsibility of teachers to report on. Yes. However, denying a child a delusion of their biological sex, or denying a child the affirmation of gender dysphoria is not abusive. It can be, but on the whole it's not. So that is, I understand that as a concern a lot of people have, that there's a child who may be confused, or a child who may believe that they were not born the right sex. I disagree with that ideology. I don't agree with people who I don't agree with people saying that kids are rightfully confused and can make life-altering decisions at a young age, because the studies have shown that a lot of that a lot of them do grow out of it. The ones that don't, once you turn 18, go wild. Do whatever you want to do. But before you were I would even say 18's still pretty young, because when I was 18, I was pretty stupid. I made some bad decisions when I was 18. I made some really poor financial choices when I was 18, and I know a lot of people who made some really, really, really bad decisions when they were 18. So, on that, I don't think that is a decision that should be taken so lightly, and giving kids these drugs that alter their biochemistry. and stop puberty and all that. I don't agree with that. So I understand the caution on that. The other thing is, no one's banning books. This book banning mentality is completely based upon lies. What is actually happening is, in a lot of school districts, especially Florida, this is where it's come up a lot. Florida has been saying in a lot of their school districts that they want to assess what materials are being accessible to children. And a lot of these books that they are finding and restricting access to, restricting access in a school library is completely different than an outright ban. It's not like Nazi Germany, where if the author is Jewish, you can't have that book in stores. That's not happening. No one is doing that. This is America. That is not going on here. No one's banning books. If anything, people were banning books at one point because they were controversial. Catcher in the Rye, or some Mark Twain because it said the N-word. And I don't mean the hard ER N-word, the ending in go. That word. Or grow. Ending in grow, sorry. That was definitely happening because that was lefties that were saying this is offensive language. It was how Mark Twain spoke at the time. It was how a lot of people did. I'm not excusing the behavior. I don't believe that's a good word to use to describe an entire racial background of people, but that was common usage at the time, and that's what authors used as their language at the time. So for historical context, maybe putting an advisory in there that this is how people talked at the time and it's not appropriate today is fine. Disney's been doing it with a lot of their movies that have cultural stereotypes in them that are no longer socially acceptable today. I have no problem with that. But these books that are being pulled from school shelves, and some of them, let me fill you in on some things you might not know. Some of them are actually elementary schools. The books being pulled depict oral sex. If you have a child that's under the age of 13, they do not need to be knowing about oral sex in books at their school. Period. And I will die on this hill. That is grooming. Allowing that material for access to children is wrong. And that is grooming, borderline pedophilia behavior. So it's excusing pedophilia. And that's just as bad. So no. That's what's going on in Florida and other places. Like the whole controversy of Loudoun County. The letting kids use different bathrooms and all that. That might go away. And you know what? I don't have a problem with that, because I will have a problem if a biological male follows my daughter into a bathroom. Because and this is where we're going to get into the whole hypocrisy and the contradictory nature of this. When people say, not all men, and they're like, but you wouldn't have a bag of Skittles if 2 of those Skittles were poisonous. You wouldn't risk it. So even if it's not all men, it is all men. Okay, I'm going to turn that back around on you. Not all men are sexual predators, but I'm still going to not allow one to follow my young daughter into a bathroom. Period. And I will die on this hill. If you have a problem with that and want to label me a bigot for it, so be it. But sorry, no. Because turn it around. Would you let a grown man follow you into a bathroom if you're a woman? I don't think so. So you're going to excuse it for my daughter? Just because that person identifies that way? No. So I have no problem with that. You know what? Like, sorry, but I'm not denying your existence. I'm just denying you access to my daughter without my supervision. Period. That's all it is. It's not anything about hate. I don't hate you because you're trans. I know several trans people. I have no problem with them. I'm friends with some of them. They're good people. I don't hate them. I just do not believe that a male, a strange male, should be following girls into the bathroom. I don't care if they got to use the bathroom. They can wait their turn. I had a friend get kicked out of Walmart for that because he told a trans person, wait your turn, my daughter's in there. And you know what? I got no problem with that. Here's the other thing. This one's going to ruffle feathers. I do see a result of the Trump administration more enforcing Title IX. And you know what? I'm with J.D. Vance on this one. I am on the side of Riley Gaines on this one. I forget who it was. She's I forget what school. It's on the West Coast. There was a girl that was on Megyn Kelly a few weeks ago who plays volleyball in D1 college. And she's suing the NCAA. She's in the lawsuit against the NCAA for allowing biological males to compete in women's sports. Good. Let that go away. That needs to die. That needs to go away. Biological males should not compete in women's sports. Period. And I voted for this is an issue I voted yes on for Trump to be in office in hopes that that's what happens for my daughter's sake. I do not want my daughter to work her ass off for athletic achievement only to be undercut by a biological male beating her and taking that away from her. Because where are the feminists on this issue? And I'm planning on doing, probably next week, I'm planning on doing an episode solely on this issue. But I don't think men belong in women's sports. I don't care if they identify as a woman. What is a woman? I haven't gotten a leftist to give me an honest answer that doesn't include the term in the definition. When I ask somebody what is a chair, I don't expect them to come back with saying something that looks like a chair. Well, what is that? What is it that it looks like? That's circular reasoning, and that's not logical. So when I say what is a woman, and they can't answer with a answer that doesn't include the term that they're defining, then you don't know what you're talking about. You need to sit down and stop. So I am all for the restricting of sports to that specific biological sex. And I will die on this hill. Because I don't want my daughter to have to lose out on the competitiveness of a sport. And I'll say it right now. And it was recently defined. I know a couple of people talked about this. I think it was Brett Cooper brought it up recently. Emin Khalif, the Olympic boxer from, is it Algeria, that won the gold medal at the Olympics in Paris this year, that's a man. Period. They figured it out. That is a man. And no amount of hand-wringing, no amount of protesting is going to change the biological fact that Emin Khalif is a biological male. I don't care if their own country says that they're not. Science says that is a biological male, and that biological male has no place in women's sports. I'm sorry. If that offends you, so be it. But men do not belong in women's sports, period. And that's what was on the ballot this year, I think. And a lot of women are afraid of this. I don't know why. We're trying to protect you. I'm protecting women. I'm protecting my daughter. I'm protecting the girls out there who work really, really, really hard in athletic achievement to be the best in their sport, and they're getting undercut by males. And I'm sorry, when a biological male wins Woman of the Year, what the fuck are we doing? Where did we go wrong as a society that is somehow righteous? If my daughter loses out in a woman's competition of something where it is supposed to be just women competing against other women, and a boy, male, guy, dude, whatever you want to call it, comes in and tips the scales of that whole competition in their favor, that is not right, and I will stand against it, and I will call it out as being not right. It does not come from a place of hate for trans people. It just is objectively realizing a biological reality. It is acknowledgement of a biological reality. And look, it's not hateful. I am not meaning it as hateful. I love all people. I'm just acknowledging a biological reality that a male can never become a female. Biologically, it is impossible. And if you want to fight me on this, if you want to argue with me on this, let's go. Because I will stand firm on that conviction. There are just two sexes. And this whole gender as a social construct is just a distraction. And it's BS. So, in closing, look, Trump is not going to do all these horrific things that a lot of people think he's going to do. All those meltdowns I find are hilariously misguided and very ignorant. Trump is not going to make it illegal to be a woman. Trump is not going to force women to give birth. Trump is not going to go after the trans community. The other thing I will say, and I'm going to do a video on this as well, is the whole trans in the military thing. That actually is a legitimate concern, and that might actually happen. But I'm okay with that, being a veteran myself. I'm okay with that. Like I said yesterday, I don't think any taxpayer funding should go to trans surgeries. Any taxpayer funding should go to abortion. Look, it's your life. Do what you want with it, but not on my dollar. So there's that. The world is not coming to an end in January 2025 when Trump assumes office. Pure and simple. It's not going to happen. Is life going to get harder for people? I highly doubt it. I doubt Trump is going to make your life miserable or difficult. So calm down. Now, if he starts doing things that are targeting of a certain community or are unfair to minorities or anything like that, and yes, we're probably going to see a lot more deportations. And you know what? I'll discuss that at a later time. We'll talk about that. But in closing, I will say a lot of these fears are completely misplaced and based on ignorance and based on believing straight up lies from the media. So don't believe the media. The media is lying. They're full of it. Trump's not going to do all these things you think he's going to do. It's not a terrible thing. Trump presidency is not the end of the world. It's not the end of our democracy. He's not going to become Hitler or start gassing people. So calm down. Quit gaslighting. I hate that term, but I'm going to use it here. Quit gaslighting. So there you go. The world is not coming to an end just because Trump won the election. All right? Let's all calm down. I love you all. Have a great time, and I'll catch you on the next one.